that's advantage of us having a set of buffer from problems like that as well. Just before it hits us. Well, I guess we go this way. We're going to get the water fund gets to help redo the road.
The water fund is going to redo that road. Well, just the pipe call out for the first 14,000. Now we have the road fixed. It's 62. And at some points the road is 15 inches.
Well, and the other there's damage that's been done. That will play out over time.
We have to replace the asphalt. We don't know what the subsurface is.
So you're doing it the right way. Yes. Otherwise, you fix what you see, and next year some other parts will fail because.
Well, I know we were in there and brought the backhoe in. The backhoe reaches over to lift, pop up a little bit of the stream, and pops it up like this, the whole backhoe falls down. And we go, yeah,
missing a little something.
Yeah, void in there. Yep.
It was interesting because I saw your email was the first one I saw, and I don't know what list you had. I kind of read it, so but what kind of was titled something about no tubing or something. I was trying to make sure I understood the reference. I wasn't sure I understood. Is that referring to like the water park shutdown, or what was that referring to?
Our water, we're having a tube day for a boil block. So I promised myself that I was done.
So they finally fired them.
Industrial wastewater plant. We have this big 100 acre lawn. And it was filled with water, but it had a big sand out in the center. It looks like water, so I always said so then when this thing came up, I'm going to do it. So maybe next week.
There'll still be enough plenty of water.
So I wonder if Bill is going to be here today.
And then there's a lot of
So this is
alluded to that when we chatted in May or something. My issue is that is this the most important thing to spend that much money on, or are there other things that I think that's the right location for a process whether spending 16
You think it's just like an
it's not coming off the existing tax base. Yeah. They're kind of paying for it out of what they're paying. Yeah, it's a lot of money. That and knock on the council. So, yeah, I always thought there should have been a condition that they paid for it as a requirement as opposed to letting them get away with that lower cost. Which I was okay with too. But I mean, you can build a great different crossing. Especially whatever was doing that existing term. I didn't know that there would be some crossing those tracks. We ultimately got there. Yes. So, I think it's the right location. Yeah, I guess that's the eternal question. Yeah. All right, thanks. When you have many more needs, funds, there's not a bad answer. I don't think it's something useful. Okay.
Personally, the back out so they can
Okay, welcome everyone. I don't know if I need a microphone on, but I'm Dan Wolk, of course, yeah. The chair of the Woodland Davis Clean Water Agency. I'll just note for purposes of roll call that we have directors Jim Hilliard and Brett Lee here, and Vice Chair Bill Marble is hopefully on his way, but he's not present at the moment. Approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve. A second.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Motion passes 3-0 with Marble absent. Public comment. Now is the time for any member of the public to comment on any item that's not on the agenda. Seeing none for public comment, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Agency business. First, consent items.
Chair Wolk, I do have one update for the board. Item 1C is our project financing update, and we noticed after the packet was mailed that there was a couple of incorrect numbers on the table attached to that report, so at your places is an updated table. The amount in the table, the amount that's been received is correct, but we had incorrect figures for the loan amount that had been submitted, so I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention before you consider that item.
Motion to approve consent with a correction.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Motion passes 3-0 with Marble absent. That brings us to the item number 2, which is Davis Woodland Water Supply Project update. Dennis.
Yes, Chair Wolk and board members, a brief update for you this afternoon. Just cover briefly our funding and finance status update. Tell you a little bit about where we are with construction and our acceptance test, which is currently underway, and then upcoming activities and milestones. We continue to make good progress. We're into a regular monthly pattern of submitting disbursement requests on our 2 loans. Woodland has received $85 million, or 76% of their $111 million loan. Similarly, Davis has received nearly $72 million, or 75% of their $95.5 million loan. Again, as we've reported before, we're in the process of obtaining appropriations for $40.2 million in grant funding for the joint intake. A little bit of an update on the federal side. We have received another $200,000 appropriation to cover pending change orders and current change orders. So now we've received 19.2 out of the 20.1 million that's been committed, and the remaining 200,000 will be authorized as we continue to submit change orders for their consideration. On the state side, as we've reported the last couple of meetings, we have received the final $8.1 million increment in grant funding from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. That brings the total commitment from the state to the $20.1 million. We are still working with the Department of Fish and Wildlife staff regarding grant eligibility of a few key items, namely change orders, the use of the grant funds for the retention that we're withholding from the contractor on the project, and being able to use grant funds to ultimately pay for whatever amount is decided for the hard driving claim. Remember, we talked in the past about problems that were encountered by the contractor in driving the cofferdam that was needed to begin construction on that joint intake project. So we're working through those issues, and with the successful resolution of those issues with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, we'll be up to the full $20.1 million commitment from the state, matching the federal commitment. In terms of the joint intake project, construction is moving along. All the major pumping and piping and electrical is installed. There's ongoing site grading, security fencing, and architectural panels are being placed. Remaining work is primarily electrical and controls. They're still awaiting permanent power from PG&E. That's currently scheduled to be provided by mid-July, and if they meet that, if PG&E meets that schedule, they'll have about a month's worth of testing before it can be turned over to CH2M Hill for operations of the agency's equipment and pumps. So that we are continuing to use the temporary pumps that we've talked about to deliver water to the treatment plant until the permanent facility is ready.
Does that affect our overall timing of late August for activation of the intake? If they get the permanent power mid-July, which is the current plan from the permanent power from PG&E, the schedule calls for about a month's worth of testing, and if the testing is successful, then by mid-August or so, it should be ready to turn over to be accepted and turned over to CH2M Hill. Is any of the intake project delayed because of this installation? Because this seems later than I had remembered.
It's what's really being delayed is the testing of the pumps, and
Okay.
and there's a hydraulic test that's required by the regulatory agencies to confirm that the screens are performing properly, and in order to do that screen test, they need to be able to have the pumps activated. So it's really the sequence or the critical path is getting the pumps energized so that they can put the entire facility through its testing paces.
Thank you.
This is a photo at the joint intake. These are our temporary pumps that are pulling out of the Conaway's main canal. You see a couple of them here, but there's actually 8 temporary pumps that are lined up that are delivering the raw water to the treatment plant.
Mr. Chairman, a question on that. Can you, I think you might have addressed this, but what is the purpose of the temporary pumps?
So that the temporary pumps are delivering
the flows to the regional water treatment facility. So they're delivering raw water to the treatment facility.
So the intake is not completed?
The permanent
but-
new intake is not completed. So the temporary operation is we're using the existing intake on the river. The existing intake is pumping to the main canal, the start of the main canal, just on the other side of the levee. And we've installed these 8 pumps, suction piping into that main canal. And these temporary pumps are pulling water out of the Conway's main canal, pumping it into our 5-mile raw water pipeline that delivers raw water to the treatment plant.
Is there, and what's the reason that we're doing that now instead of waiting until the intake is complete and then starting the production of water?
The CH2M Hills completed construction of the treatment plant, and they're anxious and ready to put the treatment plant into service, run it through its final acceptance test, and the contract allows for them to do that. The contract provided that we would have raw water available to them in order for them to test and put the treatment plant in service. And so this temporary pumping facility is the way that we're providing that raw water until the new intake is completed.
Is there additional cost to the agency for this temporary pumping operation?
Yes, at a previous board meeting, the board considered the different alternatives and ultimately approved a change order for this temporary pumping arrangement.
Thank you. I'm asking the questions because this came up in the Board of Supervisors meeting with one of my colleagues questioning what was going on. So now I have the answers. I can feed back. I appreciate it.
Sure. So as I mentioned, the station itself is nearing completion. You can see the architectural treatment being placed on the building, the discharge pipelines that deliver the water to Conway and to the agency are painted and nearing completion. This is a picture that's of the facility from the river. Again, the architectural work being completed. In the foreground, you can see the riprap that's been installed on the river side of the levee. The vertical steel piles are intended to protect the facility from floating logs and other things that might come along. This is a view of the facility from across the river. So switching to the regional water treatment plant, we did, CH2M Hill obtained substantial completion on May 26th. The complete reconstruction of County Road 24 has now been completed, and at the plant, the remaining work is basically landscaping, fencing, and punch list items. Through the end of May, the construction on CH2M Hills contract is 98.5% complete, and total billing to date is $144 million. So you can see we're putting the finishing touches on the treatment plant. This is the entrance. We've got the new sign installed. We've got the new entry gate is installed. You can see the lights going in around the perimeter of the plant. Landscaping on the west side of the plant, trees being planted. This is landscaping around the operations building. This is a shot of the operations building further away, showing again the landscaping, the new entry trellis. So we're basically putting the finishing touches on our regional water treatment plant. A finished water pump station is completed. This is the last step in the process that delivers the treated water to the two cities. So a little bit about the acceptance testing and startup. So the raw water deliveries to the water treatment plant, regional water treatment facility, via the temporary pumping, began on May 12th. The acceptance, and for those 2 weeks, the CH2M Hill was fine-tuning the treatment process, utilizing and treating raw water for the first time, and they were discharging the treated water to the storm pond adjacent to the plant. On May 26th, they started the official acceptance test, and that test is currently underway. They have 8 test days remaining, so if all goes well, they'll complete the official final acceptance test on June 24th. The start of the surface water deliveries to the 2 cities actually began June 1st and June 2nd. So June 1st, water delivery started to Woodland, and on June 2nd, water delivery started to Davis. It was quite a historic moment. We had a valve opening ceremony for the city of Woodland when the valves were turned and the surface water was introduced to Woodland, and a similar, I guess, celebration in Davis, so the valve opening delivering the surface water to Davis. I say so far, the introduction of the surface water has been very well received. I think both cities did an excellent job in terms of flushing the system, adding the corrosion inhibitor, balancing the pH, and so we've had very, very few calls with cloudy water, discolored water, and just really in the first couple of days. And the majority of the comments that have been received so far have been, customers very pleased and complimenting the change in water quality and the taste, et cetera. So it's, so far, knock on wood, it's been a very successful introduction. Upcoming activities and milestones, we really just have to close out the capital project, receive and review all the final record drawings, and complete the punch list items. The CH2M Hill plans to have all the punch list items done by the end of August. And then we'll turn our attention to closing out the construction-related permits and then moving into full operation mode, where we'll be beginning the reporting activities under our operating permits. The project dedication ceremony has been scheduled for July 28th at 10:30. We sent out our save the date notices, and we've got a very healthy response so far, so we're looking forward to a very successful dedication event on July 28th. Just in terms of schedule milestones, as I said, we began the initial water deliveries to the cities on June 1st, and commencing with the successful completion of that test, the operations period of the CH2M Hill contract will start on June 24th. And as I discussed previously, we're hoping to complete testing of the new joint intake facility by mid-August, and then we'll be able to discontinue the temporary pumping and start operating the new intake facility. One last thing I wanted to cover is the project cost estimates. This is the project cost slide that we've shown at every meeting for the last year. This was developed in June of 2015, and the number 204.5 is the projected total construction cost for the regional facilities. As part of our budget effort in the last couple of months, we've updated this slide, and I'm pleased to report that the total regional cost estimate, it remains $204.5 million, so we don't anticipate that number going up. If anything, we're hoping it maybe go down a little bit. The difference between the two slides is a lot of the cost categories, agency administration, program management, et cetera. We've updated those to reflect actual expenditures through the third quarter, Lindsay? Through the third quarter of this current year. So the total project cost estimate remains the same at $204.5 million. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions? Thanks, Dennis. Appreciate it. I would just like to note that Brett is receiving the water where he lives, but I am not yet. I'll just state that for the record.
Have you
I'm not going to
noticed
get it until the fall.
any noted differences, Director Lee, in your water?
Or I think you are, Brett, at least.
Yeah, it's softer.
Oh, good. Yeah. That was what we were hoping we would.
And it tastes better.
Good.
I'm receiving it as well, and it does taste way better.
Excellent.
Everyone on the board is receiving it but me. Just one. Okay, thanks, Dennis. So that brings us to the budget for fiscal year 2016, 2017. Dennis?
Yeah, so I've got a double duty back to back here, so I'm going to have to, here we go. Yeah. There we go. Or down here. So I got a very brief presentation on the budget. We had a presentation at our last board meeting. Not a lot has changed, so I'll go through this fairly quickly, but obviously answer any questions the board may have. So the proposed budget, $12.75 million for the completing the capital project, and $17.5 million for the annual operating budget, a total of $30.25 million. Key updates from May 19th draft budget that was presented at the board meeting last month. Very consistent with what you saw in May. A few key changes that we made. For the capital budget, we adjusted the capital contingency to maintain the existing total project cost estimate of $204.5 million, as I just discussed. Operating budget, in the May version, we had included the supplemental water projects for the CPG water or the Bureau water contract in the agency's budget. And after discussing that with the city staffs, we pulled it out because the payments for the CPG water are city responsibilities. So the cities are going to include that in their budgets, but it's really exclusive of what the agency's responsibilities are. And we did increase the temporary pumping cost for an additional month, a cost of $312,000. That's based on a meeting that we had with the RD 2035 folks between our last meeting and this meeting, and an update to their schedule. So this is the various categories under the regional project capital budget. There's really three key areas that are driving the $12.75 million cost. The joint intake construction is the 3.15. The remaining design, build, operate payments to CH2M Hill, the bulk of that is the retention that we owe them, $7.3 million. Once they complete the acceptance test, they're due the release of that $7.3 million retention. And then the remaining capital contingency of $1.5 million. You see down below on the operating budget, we've taken the payments on the supplemental water out of the agency's budget, and these other costs are consistent with what we showed you last month. Major capital budget categories very quickly. The joint intake construction, $3.15 million in payments to the joint intake construction. Significant portion of that is a construction contingency for unresolved change orders and pending claims. The $7.4 million to CH2M Hill, the bulk of that being the retention of $7.3 million. We have some costs included for construction oversight, legal and technical project closeout, and then oversight of the CH2M Hill's evaluation and acceptance of the joint intake when it's ready. Agency administration on the capital side, $109,000. That's really over the overall management of the joint intake and the coordination between ourselves and RD 2035. And I think, as I mentioned at our last meeting, we have retained legal counsel in cooperation with RD 2035 to discuss a property tax assessment from the county that the agency and RD 2035 believes is higher than it should be. And we've also retained construction counsel for the Coffer Dam claim dispute with the contractor, Balfour Beatty, at the joint intake.
How, I don't know if this is an appropriate time to ask it, but on the claim, the Coffer Dam claim, any further progress on that, or?
Dick, you want to?
Do we have an update on that?
We've had, I would just say that, we've had some initial meetings with the contractor, Balfour Beatty. The agency's position and RD 2035's position is that there's a claim is without merit. They've filed the claim for $3.7 million for the difficulties that they've experienced. And so we're working through our way through the prescribed resolution process.
And really nothing much to add. The attorneys representing RD 2035 are taking the lead on this because they're the owner on that project, and the construction lawyers are getting up to speed on sort of developing the claims resolution strategy that we're waiting to coordinate with them on. So the ball's in their court for now. but not much has transpired since the last meeting.
What is the agency's responsibility if there is a resolution with a payout? What, I mean, are we 20% at risk, or?
Yeah, we're hoping that, and this is some of the ongoing discussions with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife and the $8.1 million grant, we're hoping to get their concurrence that any settlement or payout that might result from the negotiation of this claim would be eligible for grant funding. That's our current hope and our current plan. To the extent that the grant funds don't cover the full amount of any claim, or if the Fish and Wildlife grant decides that cost is not eligible, that would fall back on the district.
I appreciate you looking ahead into the grant opportunities.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not the district, fall back on the agency.
No, I understand, yeah.
Yeah.
The legal assistance for property tax assessment for that issue, what's the basis for the agency being involved in that?
I'll handle that one. The agency co-owns the joint intake site with RD 2035. We're joint tenants on that property. And there's a question of whether or not that's going to be subject to real property taxation.
The facility itself.
The facility itself, because while it's owned by a JPA consisting of two cities and RD 2035, the property is actually outside the jurisdiction of the two cities, and it's also outside the jurisdiction of 2035. So if it was inside either of the cities or inside 2035, then it'd pretty clearly be exempt. But since it's outside, it's a little bit more of a question, and if it is subject to taxation, it'd be a pretty big tax bill once it's reassessed with the new intake. So it's a big enough issue that 2035 and attorney and I decided to bring in outside counsel to make sure that we really nail this one down. We're pretty confident it's going to be exempt from taxation, but there's still ongoing discussions with the county staff on that.
Okay, so this is just, so it's a very limited, focused review. It's not the property tax for the entire Conway Ranch.
Correct, totally unrelated to the larger dispute on the Conway Ranch, because this is very much a 2035 issue, not a CPG issue.
Okay.
So it's limited to the joint intake site that we co-own with 2035.
Okay. Have there been informal discussions with the assessor's office?
Yeah, yes, and they've actually been very, very helpful to date, so we're hopeful to resolve this amicably at a staff level.
Okay, good, thanks.
So over the first few months of the coming fiscal year, the capital project will wind down and we'll close it out. And we'll anticipate it starting July 1st, we'll be pretty much in full operation mode of the project and the contract with CH2M Hill. The agency administration budget is $655,000 out of the total of $17.5 million. That includes all of the services that are shown here. O&M oversight, that relates to the agency and our consultants' review of the payments and the work being performed by CH2M Hill under the operations portion of their contract. It also includes coordination, ongoing coordination with RD 2035, filing of various water right reports, etc. We have some work to do to finalize legal and engineering work related primarily to the ASR work to allow the injection of treated surface water into the groundwater system for aquifer storage and recovery. We have the project, the significant portion of the overall O&M budget is the project operation and maintenance. These are the costs that the agency will pay CH2M Hill to operate the facility, maintain the facility, the staffing, the chemicals, etc. We do have some minor fees with the Division of Drinking Water for the permit to operate. We have some money, as I mentioned earlier, to continue the temporary pumping through September if we need to. And then we do have an operations contingency, overall contingency of about $450,000. Another major portion of the operating budget is debt service and reserve payments. The Woodland and Davis will need to initially set aside a certain amount of money in reserve to cover the anticipated payments, repayment of the SRF loans. Woodland has been doing that every 6 months or so, building up a one-year reserve. Davis's contract requires that they do it all at once, the $4.1 million, and then Woodland will start principal and interest payments and to the total of $4.3 million. So a significant portion of the $17.5 million operating budget is the $9 million associated with debt service. Revenue sources, the breakdown of the $30.2 million total budget, both the capital and operating, is shown here. Woodland's 15.8, Davis 13.3, and UC Davis 1.1. So the staff's recommendation is to approve or adopt the FY16-17 budget. And consistent with that, the next item on your agenda is to approve consultant contracts consistent with the recommended budget. Happy to answer any questions.
And Dennis, you don't have anything specifically on those consultant contracts other than what's in our packet here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Any questions on, I guess, both those items then? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve both 3 and 4 on the agenda, which is the budget and the consultant contracts.
Do they want me to? Motion to approve both those items.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Motion passes 3-0 with Marble absent. Okay, that brings us to item 5, which is the election of the board chair and vice chair beginning July 1st.
For the budget?
So I guess two of us will be leaving. So that leaves 2. Yeah. Oh, I did.
Oh, for each item.
Do you want to make sure that?
Yeah, I should just say that I haven't been taking public comment on our individual agency items. My bad. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on any of those items? I don't see any member of the public here, so. Good to see you, Bill.
Sorry.
Bill Marble just walked in.
Water emergency at my house, so.
It's ironic.
Ironic. So, Bill, we're done with all the items 1 through 4. Now we're electing the board chair and vice chair. I was just saying how you and I aren't really a part of that since we're both leaving.
I move that Jim Hilliard be the chair and that Brent
Yeah. Be the vice chair?
be the vice chair.
I will second that.
Brett Lee is vice chair.
I think I'm okay with that, but let's just say pending certification of the election, right?
Yes. There's a chance that Brett may lose.
Yeah, right.
Technically, our
I
City
could
of
make,
Davis election is not, has not been certified
Yeah.
as final yet. Just procedurally, I
Sounds
think
good.
that's probably good.
congratulations, too.
I think we should still go through
thank
with
you.
this. And if Brett loses, we'll cross that bridge. I'm fairly confident he will win. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed? Passes 4-0.
I abstained. I didn't want to vote for myself. But I can vote for Jim. Whatever. You can call it 4-0. That's fine.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're on this item, I think we should recognize UC Davis board member at this time. Do you want to introduce yourself to the vast public before us?
Hi, I'm Camille Kirk, and I'm the Campus Sustainability Planner, or my official title is Associate Director of Sustainability for UC Davis. Many of you will remember Sid England, and I am attempting to fill his very large shoes.
Camille, I'm sorry, I would have done that before. I thought, I had missed the last meeting, so I thought you were at the last meeting, so my bad. So, great, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so item 6 is consider approval of resolution revising the schedule of regular board of directors meetings. anything on that, Dennis, or any? Richard?
Yeah, this follows up a brief discussion at the last meeting where, as the agency slides from construction operations mode, the current monthly meeting schedule is really not necessary, so staff's recommending that starting in September, you shift to a quarterly schedule. It's not quite pure quarterly. The months staff would prefer are January, April, June, and September, continuing to be on the third Thursday at 3 p.m. and continuing with the alternating locations at Woodland and Davis City Halls.
Seems reasonable to me, and I think I'd like to move the item.
Okay, that's a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Motion passes unanimously. That brings us to the long-range board calendar.
Yes, so we're going to immediately throw a wrench in the revised schedule that the board just adopted. You can see on the long-term schedule, we have a board meeting scheduled for July, and we have one item that is time-sensitive, and that's various approvals that the agency needs to take regarding the conversion of the promissory notes, the CPG promissory notes for the summer water, and converting them to tax-exempt bonds. The effort that is being led by Deutsche Bank, and very similar to the actions that we took previously for the Davis conversion of those notes. And the finance team has been working very diligently to have everything in place for the approvals in July.
Question? Will that go to our council, then to the board next month? Thank you.
Yeah, there'll be a series of actions that the city needs to take in addition to the agency.
And specifically, our request to the financing team is that it go to the Woodland City Council first before it comes to this agency, because it's primarily a city obligation.
And with that
and I should also add that there's a chance the July schedule meeting may slip. We have a conference call next week on this matter. We'll know more, and we'll keep the board members apprised. But the draft documents haven't been rolling out from the financing team as the schedule we talked about. So we'll see what we get in later this month.
Any problems if that gets delayed by a month?
No, not for us. This is really just driving CPG's, Deutsche Bank's really trying to drive the schedule. It would only impact them.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question for my colleagues and also for Dennis. We're scheduled to have the opening ceremony of the water treatment plant the 1 week later. If this is really the only time-sensitive item, would we want to just perhaps meet 30 minutes before and just publicly notice at that location that we're going to have a brief meeting?
Yep. That's a good suggestion, because I think absent, it can be a very short meeting, and that would work fine.
Open to people wanting to keep the set meeting the week before here, but if it really is one time-sensitive item, then that might be an easier thing for us to attend.
I like efficiency, so I agree.
Do it.
Those are the two critical people who need to comment on that, I think. So. Bill and I have opinion. I don't think that.
Well, also
we'll
for the county representative and also the UC Davis, right?
That actually is another important point. The agency has been in communication with the staffs from both cities. In order to have that meeting in July, we will need to have a quorum, so hopefully one or both of the cities will have their alternate or their replacements named by then.
Yeah.
We're going to name ours on the 12th.
We will. We'll have ours.
Great. Well, any other thing on long range? So with that, we'll move on to the next item, which is any correspondence.
We did not receive any.
Okay. And then now the Technical Advisory Committee comments. Greg, Bob?
I'd like to report that the City of Woodland is 100% surface water, and
We have received over 40 reports of people that have appreciated the water, have noticed the difference, like what they have. We've received maybe 5 or 6 where people have reported bubbles in the water, or a cloudy water situation, or a chlorine smell, where we've dispatched crews immediately to those locations, done some flushing. There was an inadvertent shutdown of the plant for a brief period of time on Saturday. The loss of pressure shut down or required our wells in the city to start up. They started up in a sequence. They were all running about the same time that the plant came back online. There was a series of pressure surges in the city which blew 3 water mains. The worst of the 3 was a 40-foot section of a 10-inch water main, which lifted a 62-foot by 36 wide piece of roadway and severely undercut the road and flooded a basement. We had crews out all day responding to that. We've successfully got the neighborhood back up and replaced the pipe, got them back up on water, and we're currently working on trying to get the roadway replaced. Other than that, we're very pleased with the progress that we're seeing with the plant. The thing that was good about that was it identified a communication protocol that at that point had not been seriously taken into account, because no one really thought, that would occur. But frankly, I think it was a good opportunity to have the discussion with CH and the city about, what do we do when you have an inadvertent plant shut down, and how do you contact our staff? And before you start your plant back up, you need to be talking with us so that we can coordinate the pressure. And so in that sense, it was a valuable lesson for all of us. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Bob?
Yeah, just in the same vein as Greg, give a little update on turning on the water in Davis. As Dennis noted in his outline, Davis started surface water flow a day later than we originally planned, and that's largely because the pH in the water on June 1st was out of range when it got to the city limits, so we delayed starting it into the system for a day. It was a relatively easy fix. We communicated with the plant, as we're doing on a daily basis, and we started on June 2nd. We've had likewise a number of modest call volume on water quality issues, bubbles, colored water, et cetera, but I think the advance outreach we did, and as Dennis said, the community's efforts both in Woodland and Davis to pre-treat the pipes and get ready for it minimized all that. We're still under construction locally with our local water distribution tie-ins. And I need to correct one thing the chair said at the outset. You may not know it, but you have had surface water at your house.
I have.
The tie-in system of the city, we have 3 main tie-in zones. We have one in place now. The other 2 will be coming on later this year. But we have had a few days earlier this week where we have not operated our wells, which means all the water has been supplied by the surface water plant. So brief as it may have been, you have tasted surface water in every household in the city of Davis. That's not expected to last much longer with summer heat increasing. Status, I don't know if Camille wants to give an update on the UC Davis line, but we're almost to campus property at the corner of Russell and A Street with surface water tie-in, and I know they have work underway on site to tie it into their plant on campus. So
I think you covered it, and we're excited, and we're also watching you and learning from you so that we hopefully don't have hiccups as we bring it in.
All right, great. Anything else from the TAC? All right, great. Thanks a lot. I stand corrected. I guess I have been getting surface water, but I I just thought everyone west of 113 was not. That's great. Okay, so board member comments. Any comments from members of the board?
Well, we wanted to take time at the end to recognize our outgoing board members, but I think maybe first, if any of the other board members had comments, that would be appropriate to deal with those first.
Don't feel like
We're going to miss you guys.
Thanks.
You've done tremendous work, and hats off to you. If you want a clean glass of water, come on over to my house.
So we do have a couple of proclamations to recognize the work of Vice Chair Bill Marble and Chair Dan Wolk, and I've asked Brett Lee to make the presentation for Dr. Marble, and we can, Brett?
Should we just all do it?
Where do you normally do presentations?
Right up here. I'll just crowd.
Yeah, right here's good.
No, we go down. But this is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
We
good.
don't need to make it.
So we're going to do Dr. Marble first.
Dr. Marble first.
Should I stand up here?
Why don't we do, we'll do one at a time, and then we'll get a group photo at the end.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Here, give me that.
So, with the help of staff, I have a few notes here, and I will go off the notes in a second, but I'll start with the notes because it highlights a lot of your work that was done prior to me joining the board, and I know about what you've been doing since I've joined the board, but before I joined the board, there was a lot of great work that you did, so I'll read these notes. Dr. Bill Marble's leadership and work on the surface water project exemplifies the true nature of public service. Dr. Marble understood the needs and benefits of a new regional surface water system and made the difficult political decisions and maintained an unwavering conviction which were critical to the program's approval and public support. The surface water project was not just a vision, but his mission. Dr. Marble has long been a recognized leader in water resource policy in Yolo County and in Northern California, initially through his involvement and leadership in the WRA. In that role, he was a key player in water policy and the groundwork necessary for the formation of the Woodland-Davis Clean Water Agency. In 2009, he was the founding chairman of the Woodland-Davis Clean Water Agency and has been its chairman or vice chairman since inception. In the past 7 years, he was instrumental in the negotiations on the division of costs and water allocations for the Woodland-Davis and UC Davis. At the forefront of the delicate process of securing water rights through the state, highly involved as one of the agency's representatives in negotiations with Conway Ranch, key to legislative advocacy on the state and federal level for funding and low-interest loans, a strong advocate of the DBO process, steadfast in his support for increased water rates necessary to secure Woodland's participation in the project, and an ambassador who sought to unite the Woodland and Davis communities for a common goal and purpose. So the first time I met Bill was, he came and met me. I was a candidate for Davis City Council, and he was very concerned about the water project. And he had sort of, on his own time, had reached out to me and wanted to meet and talk about it. And he was very concerned. At the time, Davis was sort of going through what Davis often does, sort of this to some
Does it have a name?
Indecipherable process of one side doing this, the other side, and it really just sort of was quite alarming to somebody who felt like he had created this smooth process towards the finish line, and then now Davis was just getting a little squirrely here. I assured him that I thought, give us a little time. Our community sometimes just needs to take a deep breath. To his credit, even though steam was slowly coming out of his ears. He did give us that time and space, and I think ultimately our community made the right decision, and I think the rest is history. It's been a very smooth process since that time period, and we really do appreciate the leadership of Dr. Marvel. It's his calm conviction of what's best, I think, really calmed a lot of people, and he did really show a lot of leadership on the project, and so we're very thankful.
Thank you. It's very kind.
Could I make a comment? Could I make a comment?
I'm just going to move down so Dan can go. Most of you don't know that Brett, one of Brett's relatives, and I went to high school together at Davis. So we had a friendship, I think, from the beginning because of that. Pardon?
Who's the relative?
Tell him, Brett. Can we?
Sorry?
Yeah.
My uncle, yeah.
I just like just briefly to say that this Bill's leadership, as Brett described it at every turn, is just right on, right on. The only thing that I would like to add with this one is that this is the last founding member of the JPA, of this agency's board of directors, and I think that it's really a good test of the strength of the concept and the strength of the collaboration between the two communities, that despite the changing of the guard, new people coming in, the process has continued and the agency is strong. And Bill certainly has been a key member of this group, of this team, all the way through. And I'm going to still come here as an ex officio, and the beard is getting whiter every day, but thank you for everything, Bill.
You'll be the only founding member of the board still on the board. And
Right.
you were. Maybe Dan deserves some time here, but can I just say a couple things before that, by way of comment? Don will remember how important it was to the four of us that the board be an even-numbered composition, so totally different from anything in elected office. I don't know of anything like that anywhere. Maybe someone else does, but we felt it was just important that ultimately we be on board together. And I think every major decision that this board has made has been unanimous. We have gone through some, we've had to clear the air on a lot of things, but we've been unanimous on every decision. I think that's pretty amazing, really, when you think about it. We spent more time at our first board meeting? We spent more time trying to figure out the name of this agency. and that was my first opportunity to really see how deliberative Davis was about issues, which is just fine. I do want to say thank you, really. I continue to insist, I've had some interviews in various locations about this project. I continue to insist that this was never a one-man show and couldn't have been. And we have a fair number of significant individuals who are no longer with us, who played major roles at the beginning of this project. And it's just I think one of the things that I will miss the most about being at both the ceremony for the water treatment facility and the ceremony for the intake, which we hope will follow, will just be to be able to pay credit to those people who went before, and that's over many years, and includes Dan's mother just helped us so incredibly much with some significant things that had to happen. Once we got the right officials in Washington involved behind us. That went forward. But everything has just been, to me, a wonderful opportunity to serve with people, and I just want to say thank you to all of you. That is a memory that will be with me forever. Thank you.
I'd like to put a staff perspective in about what a pleasure it is to work with a leader that is knowledgeable and dedicated in the technical side and willing to learn and go the full measure into everything that's involved in water, and that you've been a guiding light and a pleasure to work with, and we have appreciated your leadership and your willingness to be with us through this entire project. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, Dan Walk was appointed to the Davis City Council to replace Don Salem, and then elected in 2012 as the leading vote getter. He was from the beginning a strong advocate for the regional surface water project, and came up to speed quickly on the important project implementation, policy, and financing decision facing the board at the time. During his 4-year tenure on the board, Dan's thoughtful approach to problem solving and policy setting was crucial to the agency's ability to solidify support from Davis ratepayers and implement the project on time and on budget. He was a strong supporter of the DBO process and advocated for its potential to save time and thus money on project implementation. He provided key support and assistance in securing grants and low-interest loans for the city and the project. His distinguished service as chair of the board during the bulk of the construction is particularly notable. He can have, my typo. He can leave the board with the confidence that that he's made good on his promise to the community to develop the project in a manner that was smart, affordable, and sustainable. Thank you, Dan, on behalf of the board and our communities for your dedication to the board and this amazing project. It's all yours.
Well, thank you. The irony is that during the appointment, I like to tell the story that during the appointment process to City Council in 2011, I was asked, or we all, I should say, all the applicants were asked a number of questions about various issues affecting the city. Water was not one of them. It was amazing that water. Yet, when I got, hey Tom, how's it going? When I got on the dais, for the first time, water quickly became kind of the number one issue for me and for the council, for the community really, for a number of years, still is. And we talked about the process in the city, and I've had long conversation with Bill, certainly Tom, and before Brett was on council, and then when Brett got to council, but sort of helping the city navigate through that process, overcoming the legal, political hurdles involved and the financial hurdles, I think is something that I'm very proud of. And there's a number of I was looking back, now that I'm coming up on the end of the mayorship, just kind of reflecting on my service, and there's a lot of things that I'm really proud of, but this project is the thing that that I'm just most proud of in terms of having played a role. And as Bill said, so many people have played a role before this board and who are on this board and on our respective councils and staff, and so many people have played a critical role in this project, but to have played a part in it, and then having that water now flow to our taps in Davis and here in Woodland, I think it's a great thing to see, and I'm just really appreciative of my colleagues, of certainly staff, and of the staff of the agency for all their hard work, and yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So thanks. So with that, unless there's anything else, I think we will, unless there's an objection, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. All right, we're in adjournment. Thank you.